Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to talk about the Fatboy and whether it was named or possibly named after the atomic bombs dropped on Japan. But first, of course, we need to get to a viewer bike. And actually, these are two bikes sent in by lovely Lance. And the first one here is what I believe is a 2016 Breakout. If I'm incorrect about that year, I apologize, but this is a 103 twin cam, and it looks like we got some slip-on exhaust on that, as I believe the stock mufflers were black on this model. Now, the second is a 2023 Fast Johnny Edition Road Glide ST. This guy came with the 117 engine, heavy breather, and high-flow exhaust. It's also got some bronze accents to the engine, which I actually had not noticed before. But a couple of nice bikes, and thanks for sending them in there, lovely Lance. And of course, if any of you out there want to see your bike on one of my videos, send me an email. My email address is in the description of this video. So over the years, there has been a legend or a myth that the Fatboy was named after the atomic bombs dropped on Japan in World War II. And there seems to be two sides to this story. You have one camp that believes that, yes, it was indeed named after these bombs as a slight to Japan. The other side said, no, it's just a coincidence, and this has nothing to do with any bombs. It's just named after the fat stance of the bike. But we're going to have a look at both sides. So let's look at one side of this argument, and why would this bike, or how would this bike be named after atomic bombs? Well, there were two bombs dropped on Japan, essentially ending World War II in August of 1945. One was called the Fat Man, the other was called the Little Boy. You take those two names together, you've got Fat Boy. That's the first reason. So the Fatboy, when it first came out, only came in silver or gray. And this was the same color as the B-29 bombers that dropped the bombs on Japan. Also, the solid disc wheels on the Fatboy are supposedly reminiscent of the wheels on those B-29 bombers. I'm not too sure about that one, haven't looked at the wheels. Now also, the Fatboy comes with the original double-winged badging, which is supposedly a nod to the military or the Air Force in general. One other thing is that the Fatboy has 7 yellow accents or rings on it. And these are supposed to symbolize the yellow rings that were painted on the original atomic bombs that were dropped. Now, one of the most relevant things, at least in my eyes, is the timeline of this. Willie G designed this bike back in the late 80s. And who was Harley fighting with in the 80s? Japanese manufacturers. Japanese manufacturers were taking it to Harley Davidson, so much so that they had to petition the US government to get tariffs put on these bikes. In 1983, tariffs on import bikes were significantly raised from 4.4% to 49.4% for bikes over 700 cc. So would it be that far-fetched to think that Harley would come out with a large cruiser with a name to poke fun at the Japanese manufacturers? Now, on the subject of the US government, I did read something online that said that the US government had actually put a complaint into Harley Davidson and asked them to change the color of the original Fatboy and get rid of the yellow accents on it. Now, honestly, I have no idea whether that's true because I could not verify it. I could not find any official documents online about it. But could that be a reason why Harley changed the color from gray to black and there were no accents left? I don't know, just another reason for that side of the argument. Now, there's been other videos on YouTube and the internet about this topic, but, you know, who can you really believe? Matt Laidlaw was one guy on some of his Fatboy videos. He did mention that it was indeed named after the atomic bombs. Now, again, I can't verify that, but the Laidlaw family has had a Harley dealership since the 50s. So you would think that they would have some sort of inside knowledge when that bike came out of what it was actually named for. Now, there's one other video I saw that I kind of found interesting. I believe it was done by I think the channel was called the Lemon Drizzle Gang. They were reviewing a 1990 Fatboy, and they talked to the guy who was actually selling it. And he said that he had actually bought a Harley Fatboy in 1992 and apparently was told that it was named after the two atomic bombs. He also goes in to talk about the badging, the change in the color, and the yellow accents on the bike. Now, what about the other side of the argument? The folks that are in the other camp, a lot of them believe that this is, quite frankly, a statement raised by racists that the Fatboy would be named after atomic bombs. They feel that, the color scheme of the bike was because gray silver looks good. The wheels were done the way they were because they looked good. Same thing with every other styling aspect on the bike, and that the bike was actually just named after its fat stance, and that this is basically just a whole big coincidence. Now, the late Harley Davidson historian Martin Rosenblum also stated that this issue is based on an urban myth and completely false. He actually stated that everyone was shocked when some people thought that they would name a bike after atomic bombs. And in a 2015 interview with Scott Miller, who was Harley's VP of styling, he said that the name was basically just descriptive. It was basically just a made-up thing that they would name it after bombs. Another thing people will also point to is that you have the Fat Bob, which is actually named just for that. It's fat stance and it's bobbed fenders. So what's the verdict on all this? Well, let's kind of have a look at it. Would a motorcycle manufacturer name one of their bikes in a way to take a swipe at their competitor? Well, yes, they would. All you have to do is look at Suzuki and the Hayabusa. The Hayabusa basically is a bird, or a falcon, I should say, that preys upon blackbirds. And who is their direct competition at the time? The Honda Blackbird motorcycle. So it's not that far-fetched. In all actuality, looking at it, it's not that far-fetched that Harley may actually put a jab in against their main competitor in the Japanese market. And let's face it, the 1980s weren't exactly the most politically correct times. Now, could the design characteristics of the original Fatboy having something to do with atomic bombs be a huge coincidence? Yes, it could. It could be just totally made up, and Harley made those colors just because they thought they looked good. It's very possible that the colors and things like the accents were taken off in the 1991 model simply because maybe they thought the 1990 model was going to be a one-off, and they thought to more mass produce, to be more, for more people to like it, maybe they just make it black. It's hard to say. It would be nice to know the reason why they did change colors and remove those accents, though. So how about the folks online who've made videos on this? Well, you would think that someone like a Matt Laidlaw or early buyers of the motorcycle would have some sort of good knowledge, historic knowledge on how the bike was named. But again, they didn't show any type of verification of this. It's simply word of mouth. That's all it is. I will say one thing, and that is I would take with a huge grain of salt any Harley Davidson company representative who makes a statement on this issue, because even if it were true, there is no way in hell they would ever admit that. So what's my honest opinion on the matter? Well, it really doesn't matter what I think, really, but it would not surprise me if Harley named a model in order to take a shot at the Japanese market. However, having said that, it would not surprise me if this was all made up and it was just merely any similarity to the bombs was merely a coincidence. That would not shock me either. But the long story short of is, unless you were there when the bike was named, or you're in Willie G's head at the time, you don't know. I wasn't there, you weren't there, and nobody's talking that I know of. To be completely honest, I hope we never find out. I hope that we never find out, because even if the bike was named after atomic bombs, you can guarantee that the Fatboy would be either discontinued, it would be renamed, or if you actually owned one, you'd have people screaming at you, calling you a racist for owning a racist motorcycle. And I have enough weirdos to deal with in my life already, so I do not need any of that attention. But anyway, what do you guys think? Let's hear it. Put it in the comments. But if you're going to put in comments about a subject that's kind of controversial like this, please be civil with it. But anyway, that's it for today, and we will see you in the next one.